Welcome back, Mzansi, to African farming. Now, handing over the reins of a farming operation from one generation to the next requires continuity of those winning elements that make the operation a success. And there's no doubt that farmer Lavengwa Nemaurane has continued his father's legacy, choosing carefully which elements to keep and where change is necessary for growth. Now, here to talk about the importance of continuity for any farming operation are our panel of agricultural gurus. Welcome once again, gentlemen, starting with Nico Groenewald from Standard Bank. Nico, you well?
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Dr. Baty Dungu joins us again from Afrivet. Doc, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Praveen, Dwarika from Lemang. Praveen, good to see you as always.
Good to be here. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Louis Steyl from Bonsmara, SA. Louis, you well?
Thanks. Nice to be here, Tony.
Okay, so we're looking at continuity in a farming operation. Nico, from a financial perspective, how important is it and how can one manage that transition?
I think handing over the baton is one of the most important events from a risk perspective. Specifically from a financial risk perspective where financiers sit at the back, because you physically hand over the whole management and control of a operation to somebody else. So it's critically important that one plans that properly and that the second generation that comes in is taken into confidence early into not just the operating side of the business, but also the planning and the strategic side of the business. So that if that baton is handed over, that he or she then can comfortably also demonstrate and explain the strategy of the business to stakeholders outside.
I suppose internally from the bank as well, that's also important, is it, from a relationship perspective?
Yes, as I say, for us that is a specific risk event. So we need to understand properly who would be the new manager, owner of the business, and what his thinking of the future would be, if it is consistent with what we've seen in the past, and would he be able to carry on that path of consistency going forward.
Praveen, coming to you, farming operations are critical in the country, we all know that. And it's also critical, that handover process is very important. Why do you feel it's important?
We're dealing with food security. We're dealing with livelihoods. We're dealing with building an agribusiness. So I think what we need to always keep in mind is that, like Nico mentioned, upskilling the next generation to take over. You can never plan for these unforeseen circumstances, of course. So therefore, planning needs to be part of the day-to-day routine on a farm. Have the next generation of farmer already getting involved in the strategic issues as well, because stakeholder relations in farming should never be underestimated. Your partnerships with your agribusinesses, your relationships with your bankers, your input suppliers, your off-takers. Farming is about trust, and a generation builds trust with its stakeholders. So to ensure that continuity in the business operations, but also the consistency with which the farm delivers, the consistency with which you negotiate, the consistency with which you keep to your promises, because that's what farming is about. So make sure that the next generation is always ready to take over on a continuous basis.
Well, Doc, please talk to me about how continuity contributes to effective health management.
One have to take to realize the fact that animal health is an investment. So you need to put in place a plan for controlling animal disease, because they contribute to improve productivity in the livestock. So an animal health program has to be consistent in a farm, so that you improve continuously the health of the animal, and also contribute to productivity, improve productivity, as well as animal welfare. So continuity becomes extremely important, that there is a good level of consistency in how the animals and the productivity is improved.
Now, Louis, coming to you, when it comes to auctions and breeders, we heard the doc talk about consistency. Is it the same when it comes to genetics?
I think it's very based on the same principle. And the thing with genetics is genetics takes a very long time to build up. And so you've got to start building your brand as a seller of livestock very early. Because at the end of the day, if you go to an auction, you've got a reputation that you have to uphold, and that must be a good reputation. We always say 1,000 good animals can do very good for you, but one bad animal that you sell is going to break down your reputation. So that's why in the genetics industry, there's lots of marketing as well involved, and it all starts with the brand that you start from the beginning when you start with cattle breeding. Even if you're not a stud breeder, not a stud breeder, you start from that and you must work up, and your brand is always defined with your reputation that you have in the auction crawl.
So Louis, listening to you, you're saying if I'm going to an auction and I want to buy some sort of livestock, that continuity is important because I must trust the farmer, the generational aspect, the breeding aspect from that farming operation.
Yes, and that's why start building your brand today, not tomorrow.
Praveen, any last word when it comes to continuity? What would you advise the family farmers?
Engage with your stakeholders. Keep that discussion going all of the time. Where there's a possibility to do formal training and skills transfer, embrace that by all means.
And Doc, your comment?
My last comment for continuity, I would advise the farmer to continue with the program they've been established with the veterinarians that have been working on that farm.
And Nico, from a continuity aspect, one farmer or the one generation is passing on the books to the other generation, aren't they as well?
Yes, and I think that continuity should not be limited to the operational side of farming only, but most important, make sure that continuity from a strategic and from a financial planning perspective is also included.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So as always, we value the wisdom of our panel, and to today's farmer, Labengwa Nemaurane, may your success continue to the next generation and of course to the next generation. And Mzansi, don't forget, you can find us at hashtag African Farming, and also go around and have a look at our website, africanfarming.com, for more info. And please remember, we farm better together. African Farming recently held a Farmers' Day in Polokwane, sponsored by Elanco and Vleissentraal, and we caught up with some of the speakers attending.
African Farming Farmers' Day, Polokwane. What a day. Over 300 people that attended.
There's a lot of positive stuff that comes out of advice that's come out of today's Farmers' Day. I mean, the guys that's here that's attended can really use this information and they can practice it on their farms.
My message would be the farmers should always go out and attend such events. It doesn't have to be just our events, but they must be part of the Farmers' Days because that's where they're going to get the information from.
We've got to succeed, work together to feed the nation.